Hi all, and welcome back to another video of my hard landscape design series. In today's video we're going to talk about the clay paver and the clay facing brick. But firstly, what is clay? Clay essentially is just earth that's really sticky, that has been compacted over a period of time, that has been sort of brought out of the ground and then baked or kilned till a really high temperature until you get this really hard and durable surface. Depending on the finish then of the product, you do get sort of different finishes, and you will hear things like I've mentioned: facing brick, pavier brick, engineering brick, and there's all different sort of standards of brick. But this video is specifically on paving brick. Now, I'm not meant to have favourites in this series, but if I was to redo my whole garden again, I would probably do it in clay if my budget could afford it. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So at the moment, I will be sticking with gravel, and we will cover gravel in a separate video. So this is a clay paver, and it's in this really lovely sort of dark, deep grey, sort of charcoal, almost black colour. And it just goes to show that grey does not have to be an earth tone. Normally when people think of clay, they immediately think terracotta shades, they think of like reds and oranges and sort of those deep kind of vibrant colours. But no, you can get clay in these lovely dark colours, you can get it in like lovely shades of brown and taupes, so there's loads of options with clay. Now, if you are wanting to do a patio and you're wanting larger module sizes, unfortunately with clay you probably are going to be restricted to brick sizes only. You might want to watch my other videos, which will include natural stone, porcelain and concrete products. Clay will normally always just come in these brick formats, which is usually like a 200-100 size, and then the depth can vary. This is an 80mm paving brick, and it comes with these nodules on the side, and basically these are intentional nodules. They're designed on the brick intentionally, so when the two bricks butt together that they give additional strength, and it's just like a really good sort of lock-in mechanism that the bricks have. Now, as I mentioned, if you are doing a large area, you might want to look at an alternative paving source, but I would really suggest that you push clay for your pathways. You can do loads of sort of interesting bonds, you can do stretcher bonds, you can do herringbone, you can just do really nice designs and trims. You could even trim your main patio area with a clay brick. Clay is really complementary to property colours, and you will find there is a lot of brick properties out there. What I would suggest though is, if you are trying to match it exactly, paving bricks and facing bricks are very difficult to match into existing properties, and with clay, because it is a natural product, you are going to find there's going to be natural shade variance within it, and again that's why it is so important to batch code. And I've covered batch coding in all my videos, but batch coding essentially means that you know your full area that you're going to pave before you order it, that therefore whilst you're on site and you've changed your mind and you want to extend the area, if you go back to the original supplier that you bought the paver from, they might not have it still in circulation from that original strain that you got from, and therefore there could be a shade difference. So that's why I would say always know your area before purchasing. So people might ask, what is the difference then between a clay paver and a concrete paver? Well, essentially a concrete paver, although made up of natural materials, is a man-made product, where clay will always be a natural product, but it just goes through a man-made process. Clay will generally have the colour that runs the whole way through it, and this finish here is kind of a wee bit more sleek and it has this nice shiny top. But generally speaking, you can also get like what's called a rumbled brick, where the brick has been tossed about and it just has this nice edged effect. Now you can also have that same appearance with concrete, but usually when you break concrete in half, if the dye doesn't go the whole way through, you might end up with a white exposed side in the middle, where clay will just have that pigment. Well, it's not a pigment, it'll just have its natural colouring that runs the whole way through the brick. Clay does tend to be a bit more expensive. That's because since the pandemic there has been a delay with it, and it is just kind of backdated, and obviously as time moves on that might fix itself, but you will always find there's lead times for clay. So an advantage of concrete would be you will find it's probably in circulation quicker. Another thing with clay versus concrete, and this applies more to facing bricks rather than paving bricks, but it can apply to both, is clay bricks tend to be lighter in weight because they've been baked to such a high temperature, where concrete is naturally heavier, and therefore it's more difficult for a paving contractor to cut. So you will find, from an installation point of view, a paving contractor can usually work with clay much quicker on a project than they can work with concrete. So where you would be saving a cost usually with concrete in a material value, you maybe pay up for it then in the installation value, where clay will probably be more expensive as its raw material, as it as it is, but where you will maybe gain money back will be how quick it is for a paving contractor or a builder to lay a clay product. Now that more so will apply to facing bricks over paving bricks, but when you are working with clay versus concrete outside, if they're both wet, a concrete brick is already heavy and then it is additionally heavy with that absorption of water, where clay, yes, it will still absorb a wee bit of water, but it might be lighter. And again, you know, there's not much in it, but it is just worth weighing all that up before you look into it. Clay is also, because it's obviously fired to such a high temperature, it's brilliant if you're doing like that indoor outdoor room effect and you're maybe wanting to do like an outside fireplace, or you have blindfold doors and a lot of glass in your house and your interior chimney breast is made of a clay brick already, and therefore you're wanting to bring that colour from the inside out, where concrete essentially will not always be fire tested, so it is always worth just checking that if you are wanting to colour match exactly the same. Now, disadvantages of clay, obviously, as I've mentioned, it's a natural material. I have a lot of clay bricks in my garden which are facing bricks, and I'll do close-ups of these. It is personal preference and I love it, but clay can flake, and that means over time, if it's not used correctly, which mine is only kind of like roughly set up for visual purposes, but I haven't sort of projected it for long term, moisture has got into the bricks, and then in the winter time the frost blows that out and that sort of like flakes the brick a bit, and kind of like it peels the brick off, or bits of the face of the brick kind of just disintegrates. Now personally I love that because I love that aging process, and that's what clay would give you over concrete. But if you're not wanting that, and no, not all clay will do that, it is of course how it's installed, but you might find if you're not wanting the face of the brick to blow off over time, therefore it is probably better choosing concrete. Like I said at the start of this video, you might not be using clay everywhere on your project, but even for smaller areas like pathways, or just to do a trim or a parameter or an outside fireplace, that's where I would really push clay as a use in a garden. Personally for me, I just think it's a lovely material, I think it's a lovely product, and I think over time it just ages in really well till its natural environment. It always looks good with soft planting, and you're always going to find as your garden sort of ages, the brick will age with it, so it kind of is very cohesive. Whereas I've covered porcelain in a separate video, porcelain won't do that, it doesn't age, but then again it is always up to your personal preference. I hope that improves your knowledge as clay as a hard landscape design material. Please watch the rest of my series to see the other products mentioned in this video. Otherwise, thank you as always for watching.